Hazrat Abu Hurairah radiallahu anh, he reports that the Prophet ﷺ, he said that there's one verse in Surah Al-Baqarah, which is the chief of the Quran. It's the head of the Quran, it's the key of the Quran. And whichever house in which it's recited, shaitan leaves that house. But otherwise, you can say that this is the ultimate of weapons against shaitan. You just recite this in the house and he flees. And he is the greatest of enemies. And when the militaries are conjuring their plans to defeat their enemy, if they had the perfect weapon that could be used to annihilate the enemy, that would be the sort of the gem of their plan. That would be the key of their defense plan or their offensive plan. And this is one of the keys of our plan, which is that the home in which this is recited, this verse is recited, merely this verse, that shaitan, he leaves that house. In another narration, the Prophet ﷺ, he said that if someone recites Ayat al Kursi after Farad Salah, now this is a habit that we learned from our elders, which is essentially based on hadith, that if you sit after each Farad Salah, and you simply recite Ayat al Kursi, which, these are just a handful of lines, which take less than 30 seconds to recite. An individual who recites that, the Prophet ﷺ, he highlighted to us that nothing stops him from entering into Jannah. Imagine, subhanAllah. Nothing stops him from entering into Jannah except what? Except death. Basically what's being stated, that the person by obtaining this habit, or by habitually reciting this after the Farad Salah, is essentially so into Jannah that the only restriction is death. He's basically hanging in Jannah. He's hanging over Jannah ready to fall. He's ripe. He's like the ripe fruit ready to come off the tree. The only restriction is what? That his death is actually blocking him. Ajib. And so it's stated based on this hadith that if an individual has this habit, the hope is that immediately after death, the effects of Jannah will essentially begin to surround the individual. Such that the individual who makes a habit of reciting this verse, the barakat of this verse is so great that immediately when death comes, they'll begin to experience Jannah in the grave. So subhanAllah, just look at the power of this verse. This is the power of the gem.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم.
الله لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم لا تأخذه سنة ولا نوم له ما في السماوات وما في الأرض من ذا الذي يشفع عنده إلا بإذنه يعلم ما بين أيديهم وما خلفهم ولا يحيطون بشيء من علمه إلا بما شاء وسع كرسيه السماوات والأرض ولا يؤوده حفظهما وهو العلي العظيم.